Hi, a very good afternoon to all of you, and also a warm welcome to all our viewers who have joined us on the show. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Spectra. I'm your host, Dr. Mani Iyer. Before we start, I request all of you to kindly please subscribe to this channel, like this video podcast, as well as share the same to all your friends and relatives. This will go in a long way in supporting us and also to help us produce many more such videos and bring them to you. All right, let's begin. What separates an ordinary performer from an elite performer? Is it talent, intelligence, opportunity, or something far deeper? From an Olympic athlete training for years for a few minutes of performance to a musician practicing the same composite thousands of times to a business leader making high stake decisions under pressure, elite performers may come from completely different worlds, but their journeys reveal surprisingly similar patterns. Behind every extraordinary performance is an ordinary person who repeatedly chose to do extraordinary things. In today's conversation, we go beyond medals, awards, and achievements to uncover the mindset, the discipline, the failures, the sacrifices, and the resilience and habits that create elite performers. So, we are joined by Gauri, Miss Gauri Indurkar ji, who is a counseling psychologist. And welcome to the show, Gauri ji. She has been on some other shows as well, some of our shows as well. So she needs no introduction. And she's a renowned counseling psychologist and practicing psychologist as well. Over to you, Gauri ji.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iyer, for having me yet again on this show. It's my absolute pleasure to talk about the journey of elite performers. So, let me ask you a question. Let's turn the tables. Let me ask you a question. How do you feel when you're rejected?
Uh, at the time of rejection, I think I'll probably feel bad and feel. But later, I would look back and see what went wrong and try to see if I can, if what is the learning for me and how I can, convert this whatever that is lost into something like an opportunity.
Very nicely put. I think this is the point where the entire game changing scenario happens, where you are able to introspect upon, is there anything I could have done differently? If you look at various performers who have reached the top notch levels, take Neeraj Chopra, Mary Kom, Tendulkar, Oprah Winfrey, one thing you will see them in common is that they were able to introspect within themselves about what really went wrong. And I think that changes the game completely. All of us are invariably getting rejected day in and out in various aspects of life, right? And
Right.
when it comes to a profession, the rejections become more brutal and more evident because that is something we are actively pursuing. And I think each one of us goes through it. But then the one common denominator, if you have to identify in all these people, are they chose to introspect, they chose to understand where things are going faulty, and then they had the adaptability, the courage to make those quick changes based on the reflections and apply it back. I think that changes the game completely between the performers who are able to sustain and accomplish something versus somebody who gives up.
Okay. We look at an elite performer, we often see the achievement, but not the journey. What do you think people underestimate most about the journey to excellence?
I think people think that maybe they were so talented, maybe they were so well placed in their life that it came to them organically. And if you look at the masses at large, whenever somebody is successful, they say that, yeah, he got that opportunity or somebody was there backing him. But if you really think about it, when the person that he or she would have started the journey, they barely knew that what's going to come their way. Uncertainty was the biggest part of it. In the hindsight, it is easy to weed out that uncertainty and say that no, it was a very nicely planned journey. You had so many people to support you, or you had the talent to support you. But the talent, people, when you are actually in that moment, in that situation, is always questionable, because people also support, see, according to their interest, their abilities to support you. So it's not like if I want to support my children also, for example, I can support them at each stage and every point in their lives. There would be some times when I may not be able to support them. So is it the support which makes a person what they are? Probably the answer is no. Coming to the talent, let's say if I have a talent about something, about, let's say, public speaking, can the talent only take me from X to Y level? Probably the answer is no. But when a person is successful, people say either he was talented, he had support, or he was very well placed in the universe by the grace of God, or luck came their way, and because of which they are able to see. What people generally underestimate is the humongous amount of uncertainty. Just imagine, it's like you're jumping down the cliff without even knowing what's there below, beneath, and you jump, and in that process you weave your own parachute, and then you safely land to it. But people see the safe landing, people feel like the parachute was already inbuilt in the process. But that's not the case. It always is evolving, it is making things work on the go. So adapting the uncertainty and the very aspect of fighting out, or facing that uncertainty day in and out, is what people underestimate, because people recognize all the performers when they have reached a certain pinnacle point. So I think that changes the game.
Okay. So, see, couple of things come. One, people have natural talent. Along with that, they also do a deliberate practice. So, how important is natural talent compared with deliberate practice?
Interesting question. I think if I sit to think about it, we cannot see them in isolation. They are not two absolutes, they are something which is built upon each other. Let's say I have a talent about something. So, uh, let's take an example of Sachin Tendulkar. He was a wonderful cricketer, but he was a cricketer. He was God gifted with certain talent. Or Lata Mangeshkar, she was an ace singer, so she had a melodious voice. She was able to sing. But do you think that if they just relied upon their voice or their talent to bat in a certain way, they would have been where they were? Talent was the step one, but if you look at them, they built upon it, they practiced it, they nurtured it, they understood every small nuance of it, like what it takes. Not every song which was sang by Lata Mangeshkar was in a same tone, which was in the same mood. There were different moods, there were different voice intonations which were required. She was able to gracefully navigate in that, because she dared to nurture her talent. So I feel talent is something which is very primary, which is basic, one has to have in order to choose a particular path of career or sports which they want to choose. But then nurturing that is very important. If you even think about A.R. Rahman, so if you look at his music, which is in Bollywood, Tollywood, various other industries, so when he started, obviously he had that talent of composing music, But if you look at his performance over the years, he has given phenomenal performances which are diametrically opposite to each other at times. He has used the rock, he has given rock music, he has given, very spiritual kind of compositions, musical composition. So why he was able to do that? He had the talent, but he nurtured it, he understood it, he practiced it. I think that is most important. We fail to practice, and if we rely upon talent to take us ahead in life, I think that itself takes us down. Talent cannot be an absolute. Talent is something which is basic, which one needs to have, and on top of that, you may have to build upon it more and more. Even people, if you look at public speakers, or I will take just my example, why we have to go to others. I was always good at what I was doing, but if I don't read enough books, if I don't watch videos, if I don't understand how public speaking can be further fine tuned, might be my skill set will get stagnated. And that is where the downfall starts, because I will think like what I know is absolute, and the moment I say that what I know is absolute, there is no new addition to my thoughts, there is no new addition to my way of conducting my speeches. Beyond a point, it will get monotonous and boring to anyone and everyone. I will fall out of content, I will lose content. So all these things happens in every spectrum of life if one chooses not to build upon their talent regularly.
Okay. We come to a different thing. How about elite performers? Maybe elite performers fail too. So what do they do differently after failure?
I think coming back to the first sentence, I think people in general or world at large, people are failing every day. The biggest difference between the people who have done something, who have come out as elite performers, are that they were able to get up. They were not ready to get defined by the failure which stuck onto them. Let's take example of Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan, when he entered the industry, film industry, he was criticized for his voice, for his height, his looks. Same Amitabh Bachchan was revered as a wonderful hero. People got crazy for him 10, 15 years down the line. And then what would have kept him going? Just think about it. And such a dominant criticism is, by the way, harsh to take when you're criticized in a public space where people say that maybe you're not capable of doing something. Staying there, staying consistent, having faith in your abilities is not something easy. I think he nurtured that. He stayed with the persona, or his perception of failure, and then he turned the tables later by showcasing his talent, by even fine tuning his talent when nobody believed in his talent. I think that is most important. And again, this did not last forever. Coming to his journey only, later he launched the company ABCL. Initially, it did well, and then eventually, if you see, there were a lot of losses he encountered, and the company was on the verge of getting bankrupt. Then how did he again re-manifested his own thoughts and actions towards it? He took whatever roles came his way. He wasn't choosy at that time because he wanted to bring back his company to a profitable state. So he worked hard upon it day in and out. Even when he was a celebrity, many people might be thinking, oh, he have lots of money, he don't need to worry about. He knew his situation very well. He was not carried away by what people are thinking or what's his perception, or the fact that he is a celebrity. How can he do a menial role in a movie? He still chose to do whatever came his way, because that time he understood his financial situation very well. The goal or objective was very clear: come to a certain level, do whatever it takes. I think that approach is something which is very inspiring, and that differentiates him from the regular people. If you see, there are so many failures in Bollywood industry only. And why they failed? Because they failed and they chose to remain with that banner of failure. But this person, upon being defined as failure, he chose to rise up. Upon getting on the verge of getting bankrupt, he chose to rise up and make things work for him. So I think that differentiates a person from regular masses.
Okay, so let's say that means these people they have a different, kind of attitude or mindset, right?
Mhm.
And and yeah, what role does this mindset play when motivation disappears?
I think, if I have to give a parallel here and connect the dots really well, I can think of it like uh, you know, like a Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan, which was sent to Mars by our ISRO. So motivation is something which can ignite, and it will help to just start on an action, but it is not going to sustain. I mean, motivation is something, I see it like it can ignite, but it cannot make things work for a person. So then what works for a person? It is your own ability to remain consistent. I think that is something which can keep a person going. Think about it, that if I'm motivated to go to gym today, I get up early, go and do all the gym exercises, use all the machines effectively, and after 2 days I refrain from going it because the motivation is faded now, so I don't have any zeal to go back to workout. I think that motivation is not a very good thing to rely upon. But then mindset is something. If you see people in army, they know that they have to do something, irrespective of anything and everything, come what may. Even if the sky is falling, I'm going to do it. I think if that is the approach towards something, only and only then one can achieve anything in life. Because the moment I let externalities get into my way, I'm creating an obstacle for myself. If you really think about it, nothing can help me out. I have to pave my way, and in order to pave my way, I have to really rely upon the discipline of doing the action. So I think practicing tough love, developing that mindset to practice tough love. What is tough love? Doing something which you know is good in longer run and not getting impacted by any externalities is what one needs to practice.
Yeah, so I have uh, another question.
Mhm.
Basically, how do elite performers handle pressure when the stakes are extremely high?
I think the way elite performers deal with pressure is, first, they isolate themselves from the situation very quickly, because if you are impacted, you will experience palpitations, anxiety, panic attacks. Imagine when crores of rupees are at stake, or if a surgeon is about to perform a surgery for next 48 hours, which is like a liver transplant or very serious kind of surgery. Obviously there would be a lot of anxiety dwelling into that person. So a person who can distance themselves from the process, keep themselves out, make them understand that okay, I have practiced enough, I have the skill set, I have the talent, reiterate about their own achievements, and then plug themselves back to the process. That changes the overall game. They know how quickly to get attached, and they know how quickly to get detached from a process. Attach when it's beneficial, detach when it's not working in your direction. That that should happen with a click of a mindset, and that click one has to develop here. I think that changes the people significantly, because then they are able to take rational decisions which are not out of emotions, but decisions which are based on objective analysis. And for that, one has to distance themselves from the process. Think about it. They say, sometimes you're too closer to even look at what's actually happening. So you have to, get a little bit away and then look at the situation so that to get a clear picture of what's really happening. So getting away, taking the stock of the situation and re-entering at a closer pace. I think that is what differentiates the elite performers.
Okay. Mm. So another thing, so what I elite performers, they have a lot of mentors, coaches, and like that. So how important it is to have mentors, coaches, and feedback in the journey towards excellence?
I think 100% mentors, coaches are needed. If you look at a child, how a child grows, there is a mother who is always nurturing, supporting, telling the child what's right, what's wrong. Similar job is done by the coaches in their area of expertise. Sometimes coaches also help you to discover what you cannot discover about yourself. And that's where coaching comes into play. If you look at Sachin Tendulkar, he had a coach, Ramakant Atsrekar. He helped him to drive him through the entire process. There would be situations where his performance is, going downwards. He's not able to compete, but that's where the coaching comes into picture, where somebody makes you think that where exactly you're going wrong, and is there a better way to do it. It's a very non-judgmental, it's a very conducive and comfortable space where a person can open up and talk genuinely about the performance. I think that space is extremely valued, and I think any person who wants to achieve something significant needs that kind of coaching. And the coaching is done by a person who has the knowledge of that field, right? So that also makes a lot of difference. And sometimes when we are too involved with the process, we cannot see our own flaws. We cannot see what is really happening. So somebody who gives us a different, fresh perspective, who is not in that situation, can actually help us to see that situation differently. And making us capable of viewing something from different angles. I think that is what successful coaches do. And then when a person is able to think, okay, this is also happening, why I never thought about it, why it never occurred to me. So they kind of key in your thinking cap on, so that you can think and then formulate your own ways of addressing thing better. So coaches or mentors do not say that do this, do and don't do that. They make you think, they guide you, they give you a flavor of what's happening in reality, and then you are the one who choose. So you will even not blame them tomorrow if something is not right, because the choice was yours. Somebody gave you enough experiences, stories, insight to take for you to take a educated, informed decision.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, now that we are talking about elite performers, we all know that they're extremely focused. So that is one thing. But also, excessive becomes is a focus. Does it become a weakness?
I think so, yes. In Marathi, there is a saying where we say, Ati tithe mati, which means anywhere where things go beyond proportion, ultimately it leads to failure.
Hmm.
Because anything excessive is bad. Think about it. Excessive love is bad. Excessive hate is bad. Excessive anger is bad. Excessive focus is bad. Excessive sleep is bad. Excessive food is bad. Anything which goes excess is not helping you. It's actually leading to the downfall in the normal distribution curve, if you really have to see it. And honestly, if you just objectively evaluate various people who have failed, it is sometimes their excessive overwhelm or excessive excessive thought process where they want to achieve something, excessive anxiety, excessive pressure, because then a mind can handle only X. Okay, just imagine A mind can handle a pressure of 100. Somebody is putting a pressure of 150 constantly. What's going to happen? It is going to burst at some point because it cannot bear the pressure. We have to look at it like this. We all are bestowed with separate and distinct capabilities. Maybe you can handle more pressure than what I do, and there is somebody who can handle even better pressure than what you do. But then if it gets excessive for you, you will not be able to handle. If it gets excessive for me, I will not be able to handle. If it gets excessive for the third person who is better at handling pressure than you, but even if excessive pressure is thrown onto him, he or she may be still failing at that. So I think each person has a separate capability, and depending on that capability they should absorb the pressure, or absorb that mindset. But beyond that, if it's overdone, it is detrimental. It's certainly going to put you into a soup at some point.
Okay. So, uh, see, people use these kind of elite performers. They usually need to do a lot of sacrifices. Do you think they need to do a lot of sacrifices?
I think, yes, a lot of sacrifices. I mean, if you think about it, I was hearing to a podcast by Virat Kohli where he said that he completely gave up on non-veg food because his body was not able to intake it, and there were some issues related to that, and it was not supporting his journey of cricket. So he quit completely. Now people can say, oh, Virat Kohli, he has gained so much of success, it's a small price to pay. But I don't think so. I feel it's a lot sacrifice if you love something dearly, truly, just to let it go. Or for that matter, if you look at Lata Mangeshkar, she never ate an ice cream because it will deteriorate the quality of her voice. Imagine not eating an ice cream ever in life, or giving up that I will not eat by your own heart and mind. How difficult is that? And coming to sacrifices, each one has to give a lot of sacrifices, lot of social outings you miss. If you look at celebrities or elite performers, today they don't have the liberty to just go out and have a plate of pani puri if they want to, because they are into certain space right now. Even that is a sacrifice. They cannot lead a life like normal people, go out, watch a movie, eat ice cream, come home. They sacrifice on that simple things in life. And sometimes the sacrifices are very pronounced also. So I would like to give an example here about me only, so because I feel it's most relatable. So I was a merit student in 12th standard, and before my 12th board exams, my uncle, my mom's brother, they were planning a trip to Rajasthan. And he did say that, I'm going to book flight tickets for all of you. And, we are going to have super fun 15 days in Rajasthan. So you should also come. So I said, no, I won't come. Then he said, oh, not coming to Raj. You're already studying. You're doing very well in your prelims. So why do you think what's going to hamper your studies are, at the level, at a desired level. So you need not worry about marks. I said, no, no, I will keep on practicing. Then he said, oh my God, I've never seen somebody who is rejecting a Rajasthan trip, especially when it is, through air travel and all that. So I said, no, it's not about that. Let's say if I come, and even if I get 2 marks less, I will always blame the Rajasthan trip for that. And today, if I don't come and I exactly get 2 marks lesser compared to what I expect, let's say I expected 85%, and let's say I get only 83, but I will have the satisfaction of giving my 100%. And it's not about you, it's not about anyone else, it's just about me being answerable to me, and that is what defines everything. So he was like astonished by this answer. He said, a small girl who's just 18 years old talking like this. I said, yeah, this board marks really matters to me, because I have studied very hard and I want to get an admission in Pune. So the cutoffs are very high. Would like to work for it throughout, no matter what it takes. So I'm not going to go anywhere whether my studies are done or not. Then I did not go, and when I was married, so I felt really good. And this example he always gave to his own children, that the level of commitment should be so high that nothing attractive should deter you from coming, like something coming in your way. So be focused always.
Oh, I have one last follow-up question. See,
Mm-hmm.
we did discuss about natural talent and deliberate practice. See, certain people define, a sense, of course, you have natural talent, but you need to practice for a certain amount of time. They have and if you look at performers or people who have excelled in their fields, then they all have or have done practice for for a certain, certain hours. So
Mm-hmm.
there's something called a 10,000 hour rule. So it means if you practice so much, then you can, become extraordinary,
Hmm.
something like that. I can give a couple of examples. Maybe one example is uh, you. I think you might know the Beatles group, right?
Beatles group. I think I've heard about them. Yeah.
Yeah, Beatles. They were supposed to be a very, uh, one of the best performers. Tom Pratt ranking number one in the world and US and all
Hmm.
that during their peak, the Beatles. And it's essentially a group of four guys.
Hmm.
And when they came to US, they were originally a British band, and they came to US. They were on the topmost ranking. That means number one on top for several years altogether. But when
Hmm.
they started, they were just a very ordinary band. I mean, nothing great about it. And it so happened somebody who was touring from Germany, he came to Liverpool or somewhere, and he wanted some guys who can play band in his club, basically.
Hmm.
And so these guys got that opportunity, and they went and played in a club. Basically, nothing grand. All they have to do is play for 7 days a week and play from evening 6 kind of when and in
Hmm.
late into the night, say about 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. whatever, whenever the people go away. So initially, I mean, nobody was much bothered, but later, a lot of their kind of thing grew very fast. And everybody knew that, that Beatles group is playing there, we have to go there. And
Hmm.
because when they were doing in London or in Liverpool, they were doing, say, a couple of songs. They had about 10 songs which will replay, or 10 or max about 10,
Hmm.
I'm saying. It was little less than that, maybe 7 or 8, and it went maximum they can play around 10 songs. They had the script only for that. But
Yeah.
this, they had to start from 6 in the evening and play until 5 in the morning. So that means they didn't have the enough thing. They have to do the scripting on the go. They have to compose it. Composition has to be done on the go. Everything has to be done on the go, and
Right.
everybody needs to sing also. The whole everybody tossed in. So like this, they got so many times they got performance. So and after all that, when they came back to Britain and they started playing, it looked like a super class band, something which is out of the world.
Hmm.
The way they performed and all that. So when they actually went to Germany, there was nothing but just playing to drunkards. That's all. But the
Hmm.
practice they got, their live practice was got more than 10,000 hours. Where do you get a chance like that? Tell me. See, if you want to do a Bharatanatyam, Arangetram, what they call here in South India, so you get
Yeah,
maybe one chance, two chances. That's all.
right.
No, right? But you don't get such opportunities. And when you get such opportunities, you take it. And when you're performing, when you come out of it, you look out of the world. So this is one example somebody was quoting. So what do you think about this?
So I feel, see, opportunities coming our way is also a chance of luck. But what I think is one cannot control that um,
Hmm.
aspect in life. Like for example, Virat Kohli got selected and got selected further from, maybe the under 18, from there to the next level, represented state, then country, then at a world stage. So opportunities came in his way, that is for sure. But I think there was something he also displayed in order to get those opportunity. Like you mentioned, in the band they were practicing on the go, composing on the go, editing on the go, so they learned the skill set of adapting in order to meet the requirements. And they understood, okay, this is the requirement. If I have to fit in, we have to, maneuver, do certain changes and get there. So I think elite performers identify that space and then they adapt so as to enter and penetrate into that space. But if we keep on waiting that because I did not get opportunity, I cannot do it. One can also create opportunities, and if there is a requirement, like for example, I can give you a training example. I do this training, so there are certain requirements which are there. The question is, if I want to be there, what it takes for me to be there, am I really nurturing that? So nurturing a talent is one thing, getting an opportunity to showcase my nurtured talent is another thing. But I think if one is really focused, then always there is an opportunity somewhere, and one is able to grab that, understand that, and change the levers in order to fit in there. That's where it opens another opportunity, another door, and probably bigger and better. But one cannot rely on one aspect and just say, I have not gotten an opportunity, so I'm here. Or, things happened incorrectly with me. Very recently, I got a call from one of the students where I trained them on interview skills. So what I got to know is that the company where they were interviewing, they conducted an exam, and the exam was incorrectly conducted. When I say incorrectly conducted, what I mean is the exam time got over before the stipulated time. So the designated time was 30 minutes. The exam stopped by 20 minutes. It started late for few of the participants. And then they did not get enough time to even complete the exam. The people who were selected were not selected on the correct marks, but there was some random algorithm which made them select. So the people who really, prepared hard for it, a few students called me and they said, ma'am, we really prepared, and how can this happen? What can we do now? I said, this opportunity, whatever you're saying, one thing you can do is talk to HR. But if they are hell-bent on not taking the examination again, there's nothing more you can do. Quit, leave, find another company. There is plethora of companies where you can go and you can try. And if you have a talent, you can even score there. It's not that you this one opportunity was a last chance on the universe. It's not that. If you have a talent, you will find avenues, you will toggle your way and you'll get there. So never depend on one aspect to define you, what you are capable of. I think that is one of the most important aspect of elite performance. Finding an opportunity, tweaking our ways, fine tuning ourselves, changing the right levers to make it work for you. And that is the crux of elite performers. So it's not that they don't face pressure, challenges, awkward situation. They do. They do face all of these, but yet they choose to remain consistent, and most importantly, being adaptive while being consistent is the most important takeaway. Because if I'm consistently doing the wrong things, I'm never going to get to where I want to be. Many people say, I prepared so hard for it, I do mehnat every time, but I never get the results. Arey Baba, you're doing mehnat, but are you doing the right mehnat? Like, if it requires X amount of mehnat and constantly you're doing Y amount of mehnat and you say, I'm doing this, it's never going to get you anywhere. But if it requires X, am I doing X? So being consistent, and if you're doing Y, Z, then adapting yourself to do X amount of minute. And I think that is the skill. Being consistent, and while being consistent, being adaptive to the requirements. That is the key.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ji. It's been a great conversation about elite performers and their discipline. I mean, they are just ordinary people who repeatedly do extraordinary things. And what are these extraordinary things? It could be the mindset, it could be the discipline, going or bounding back from failures,
Yeah,
coming back, get up and run, and sacrifices, resilience, habits that create. These are the things that create elite performers. Thank you very much for
great.
that. With
Thank you
that,
so much. Even I love this conversation. I mean, I'm feeling those goosebumps after talking about so many people. And in a way, it inspires me because I feel everyone is in a journey.
right,
Nobody's completely there. We all are at different stages in the journey of getting where we want to be. So I hope this podcast helped many people.
which will sure. And if if you are somebody who wants to be an elite performer, all no, you remember this is what you have to, go through. You right? Nobody can escape that. So
Absolutely.
then the world is yours. Okay.
Absolutely.
The world will come to you. So, with that, we would like to close this show. Thank you very much, Gauri ji, for coming and talking to us about all the things that was required for
Thank you
becoming an
so much.
elite performer. And it was a superb conversation. I would say it's very excellent and superb, and also out of the world. Okay, so great. With that, yeah, we would like to see you soon on another show with another topic, similar to this topic. We'll see you soon. So until then, goodbye. Bye bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thanks for having me. I also absolutely loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Sri. Okay. Okay. Have a nice day. Have a good evening. We'll catch you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yep. Bye bye.